It's not something that changes overnight. Sometimes people have something that happens really dramatically to them, and in a moment their world's changed. For us, we had this expectation of what it was going to be, and then gradually this unfolding realization that it was going to be different. Joshua was born. It was a great joy to have a son, and really as his first year went through, we just started to realize that his development wasn't the same as other children. For us, I suppose around about the age of 1, we started thinking his speech was more delayed than it should have been, and we started all the investigations. It took a little bit of time to go through the process before we realized that Joshua eventually got a diagnosis of autism. There was an illustration that somebody gave us that really helped us get our heads around it, and the illustration was that imagine that you are getting ready to go on a trip, and all of your friends have been on a trip to Italy and they're really excited about what they've seen and the architecture and the culture and the food. And so you get on the trip and you take the flight, and then you land and you find you're not in Italy. There's been a change, you're in Holland, and there isn't the same architecture, and there's a different language, and the food's different. And you know, at first you just spend all your time complaining that this must be a mistake. You know, why am I here? This is not what everybody else is telling me about. And then after a while you start to realize that there's some pretty cool things in Holland as well. You know, there's some stuff here to enjoy. There's some experiences that you can have here that perhaps you couldn't have. And for us it was just like that with Joshua. When you have a grieving process to go through, it takes some time. So earlier in the process it can be a lot harder. But as time goes on, you come to terms with what is, and for us the key thing has been to enjoy the moment that we're in. The reality is that you can never anticipate the future you're going to have. Nothing's ever quite as you think it's going to be. I just see myself as being a parent just like any other parent, but you know, we lock all of our doors and windows because our son's the sort of child that's going to escape and run off into the neighbourhood, often not wearing any clothes. He's never learnt to speak, but you can still really interact with him. You can still enjoy him, and we get by. You know, there comes a time when you realise that certain things that you probably never really consciously thought about, but expectations you might have had, like taking your kid to his first soccer match, taking your kid to a concert, you know, perhaps you won't be able to do those things. And that takes a bit of time to get used to. And you don't realise the expectations you had. You don't realise that, you know, because you went to university, you assume that your child will go to university. So suddenly you're in a very different sort of world from what you thought you were going to be. I suppose everybody has disappointments. You know, there's always going to be things that don't work out the way that you think they're going to work out. In fact, I guess everything we anticipate is slightly different. You know, but you just have to enjoy what is there. You have to try and live in the moment, and it's going to be different, but it doesn't mean it can't be good. So I mean, we're sitting here listening to the children playing in the playground, and I know I'm not going to have that sort of relationship with my son. I won't be able to play with him in those sorts of ways. You know, he's perhaps never going to speak, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy each other, we can't have fun together in different ways.